Hey guys, welcome to Total Health Live with Dr. Nick Sedano. I'm Dr. Sedano, and I'm absolutely pleased to be here with you this morning. And just a little bit about myself. I've been in practice for about 26 years. We run a total health facility. And our purpose is very simple, and that is to help you to live as long and as healthy as God created for you to be. You know, one thing that we see right now that's going on in our society is too many people are sick and suffering, and they're starving and looking for information, and unfortunately a lot of the information that you're getting is really not accurate. So our purpose today is to be really the voice of truth when it comes to health care, and also to really make the complicated health issues a lot simpler. You know, there's so many things out there, so much misinformation, whether you're seeing it in ads or TV or news or media. And really our job is just to help break it down, simplify it, and make it a whole lot easier. So if you guys are just getting on now, put your name down, let me know where you're from, and so I can give a shout out to you, so I could see what you guys are where you're from. I'd be more than happy to say hello to you. So really, also too guys, if you like what we're doing, just hit the like and share button. There's a lot of people who are sick and suffering today and really don't know what to do. They're struggling for issues, they're struggling for answers, so maybe this can also provide them some information. So reach out to your friends, let them know, tell them to get on the line and watch our show. And also too, our show is really a group effort. We really want your help to help really co-contribute or co-create it. So if there's health topics and health issues that you would like to see, then just let us know. Put it down in the comments section. Let us know what health topics or struggles you have, and we'd be more than happy to do also shows on that too. So we're going to do a lot of different things. We'll do interviews at some point. But anyway, so today's topic is really just top strategies. What are the best strategies to prevent and reverse cancer? And I don't know of too many people in our society today that aren't affected by this, whether it be a friend, a coworker, a family member, someone that you see all the time at your job or church, place of worship, that there's so many people today that are affected by this. If you just look at statistics, the Journal of the American Medical Association says that actually 1 out of 3 people are going to die of cancer. So this is something that not just affects a few of us, it affects all of us. So whether it be yourself or someone else that you know, we've got to reach out and help people with this. I could tell you honestly, it's affected my family. This is my mom. My mom was diagnosed with cancer back in 1990, I believe it was, or 89. And it was a very sad day. I remember my dad giving me the call and saying, were you sitting down? And that's never a good thing, whether that phone call comes at 3 in the morning, or in my case, it was about 3 in the afternoon, and he says, Nick, are you sitting down? And told me that my mom had cancer. And at that point, it had already spread from her lungs. It had gotten into her brain. It was in her hip. It was in her knee. It was virtually everywhere in her body. And she was losing a lot of body function. She was having issues with bladder control, and also too, it was affecting her arm. She couldn't really move her arm properly. It would just wave in the air because she was losing, the brain function there also. So it really hit our family hard because my mom was my best friend. This is a person who I grew up in an Italian household, so this is the person who I made pasta with and sat down and had coffee with and cappuccino and just sat and talked about whatever struggles I had in my life. So this is my best friend that I watched go from she was about 135 pounds when she was diagnosed, down to about 75 pounds when she finally lost her life to it, and that was about 11 months. So many people don't live very long once they get the diagnosis. My mom lasted about 11 months, and I think probably the saddest part is that she's not there for my family. She never met my wife. She never met my kids. My kids and my wife are missing out on a fantastic grandmother, and it really hits us hard, of course, around the holidays because my kids are always asking, what would grandma be making? What would grandma be cooking? What would she be what kind of cookies would she make for Christmas time? And it just really hits us. And it hits me hard too because my oldest daughter looks a lot like my mom. So anyway, so it's something that affects me and my family. But one of the things we really want to get into is that, we just seem to be looking for a cure for this forever. There's always the cures around the corner. If we just had another $1 million, if we just had another $1 billion, if we had, another year or so, we'd find the cure for this. And really, the reality is we've been looking for a cure since the 50s. And Nixon declared a war on cancer back in 1971. So unfortunately, we're not winning this battle. We're losing it. And although I know a lot of cancers have gotten better, many of the breast cancers and so on, we're doing better with that. The survival rates are high. Overall with cancer, we're not doing very well. And so the thing is, the best way that I find, and we've recommended to our patients over the years, and this is something that I can honestly tell you in all the years I've been in practice, which is 26 years now, I've not lost a single patient to cancer. So obviously we're doing some things right. But the reality is we have to start looking inside the body and realize that the cure for cancer is already inside. In fact, my best suggestion is never get it to begin with. So we have to make our bodies a super fortress of strength and stability so that way you never get the cancer, because the best cure for cancer, as I always say, is preventing it. Don't ever get it. So we don't want to just find a cure for it. We actually want to stop it. And by the way, if you guys have questions, I'll keep an eye on my computer and see if any questions pop up. I'll have to keep hitting refresh here because I see my computer's stop there on the screen. But you know, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in. I'll see if I can keep an eye on it and answer your questions for you. Or you could also email my office at totalhealthsolutions, the number 1, @gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions there too. So anyway, one of the first things we always think about when it comes to cancer is this a genetic issue? If my family has cancer, am I going to get cancer? You know, if my mom had it, you know what, why bother even eating right or exercising and doing the right things, because I'm going to get it anyway. Or if my family has a history of heart disease, then, you know, why bother? Nobody makes it past 65 or 70. I'll just, you know, eat the way I want, take medications when I get older, and that's just going to be the way it is. Well, I'm here to tell you, if that was the case, I'd be in really bad shape, because half of my family dies of heart disease and the other half dies of cancer. Virtually nobody in my family has ever had diabetes. But those two disease killers, which are number 1 and 2 disease killers in our country, you know, I would be wanting to just go to the beach and hang out and do nothing and give up because I don't have a chance. When the reality is this, Time magazine posted this article back in the I think it was around 2010, where it says, why your DNA is not your destiny. Epigenetics reveals how the choices you make can actually change your genes and those of your kids. So I've found, and whenever I do this type of talk around my community or anywhere else in the country, nobody's ever heard of epigenetics. And what epigenetics is, it's a science that says that there's something above the gene. In other words, something will affect how the gene expresses itself. So we're not just a basket of genes or a bunch of cells with genes and the genes dictate our future. It really comes down to what you're doing, the lifestyle choices, the way you take care of yourself, the things you eat, the exercise and so forth, the way your mind works, and toxins in your system, that those are what affect whether a cancer gene will turn on or off. And the way I think of it is, you know, cancer's like a gun, but your lifestyle is the trigger. You know, cancer's a gun loaded with bullets, but your lifestyle's a trigger. So one of the things I always want to do in our shows is empower you, that you can do things that will actually change your genes, that you're in control of it. But you know what, if you watch the news, you'd never think that, because every time you turn on the news, we're victims of everything. Then we can't possibly take care of ourselves and be as healthy as we want to be because we're a victim of our genes. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. Epigenetics disproves that. In fact, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, neurogenetics doctor in neurochemistry at Yale University and Boston College, said the gene theory cannot address this. It clearly argues strongly against the concept that genes are driving this process. So he's saying the genes are not it. It's not about our genes. Actually, very few people inherit genes that predispose them to cancer. Most people inherit genes that prevent cancer. See, a big thing that I want you guys to get is that your body is designed to be healthy and well. God created it that way. And so, as we always tell our patients, whether you want to believe it's God or Mother Nature or universal intelligence, whatever your belief is, it's your belief. But there's a power that's within us that animates us, that makes us live, makes us breathe, makes us love, makes us do everything that we can to fulfill our desires and dreams. And many of us have, you know, big dreams and desires, but you can't reach any of those dreams if you don't have your health, because your health is your greatest asset. And if you have cancer, you can't be as healthy as you want to be. So I'm here to tell you that your genes do not cause the cancer. It's other factors. In fact, most people, like you said here, have genes that actually help you fight cancer. That, as I said earlier, your body's designed to be healthy and well. So your body, sickness and disease is an abnormal state within your body. Your body's got the systems in place to already fight cancer. And I found this very interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching the news, and I can't remember if it was Good Morning America or what, most likely it was, where they said that new research is coming out now where doctors are using the body's immune system to fight cancer, that somehow they can help to stimulate the immune system. And I'm thinking, that's designed to be that way. We don't have to stimulate the immune system for that. We just have to get out of the way of it and let it do what it knows how to do. So, of course, they came up with different drugs. So, if you want to go that route, you can go that route. But, what I'm here to tell you and here to teach you and show you is that there's another way, that you could do things to help your body's own immune system do what it knows to do just by feeding it what it needs, giving it what it needs. As I say in my office, Ferraris and Lamborghinis, which I tend to talk about because I'm Italian, Ferraris and Lamborghinis are designed to go fast. You don't have to, try to make it do 150 or 200 miles an hour. Bugattis can go over 200 miles an hour also. You just have to not do things to get in the way of doing that because it already knows how to do it. And your body's the same way. It's designed to be healthy and well. We need to stop doing things that interfere with it and get in the way of its health and wellness. Dr. Seyfried also said that one of the key issues is that if you transplant the nucleus of a cancer cell into a normal cell, you don't get cancer cells. And I found that very interesting when molecular biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I'm going to talk about in just a moment, back in the 60s would take cells, stem cells, and put it in different petri dishes, 3 different petri dishes. And each petri dish had a slightly different medium, a slightly different environment to it. And one would grow muscle cells, one would grow fat cells, and one would grow muscle, bone, and fat. And it wasn't the cells that, it was the medium it was in, it was the environment that it was in that would make each cell change into what it needed to be. So you could take the genes of a cancer cell, the nucleus, put it into a normal cell, and it doesn't produce a cancer cell. So this proves that it's not the cell so much, it's not the nucleus, it's not the DNA, it's something outside of that. You could actually get normal tissue and sometimes a whole normal organism from the nucleus of a cancer cell. So how could that be? If genes control everything and genes are your destiny, how could it be that a cancer cell, taking its nucleus out or enucleating, putting that nucleus into another cell, does not produce cancer? Because there's something else about this. The way I like to think of it is I like to look at it like the body's a factory, or the cell's a factory. And if we had a factory that produced sporting goods equipment, and what we wanted to do was create, we had different types of things. We could make tennis rackets and golf balls and footballs and soccer balls and hockey sticks, whatever it may be. And inside that factory has the blueprints, what we call the DNA. The blueprints are all inside that factory to make each kind of piece of sporting goods equipment. So you get a phone call from or an email. I'm kind of going back in time. In fact, I'm using my hand like this, like we used to use another kind of phone. But we get a phone call or an email that says, hey, can you guys make me 10,000 footballs? You get an order for 10,000 footballs. They take out the blueprint. They make the factory sets it all up. And next thing you know, they're producing 10,000 footballs. They get another call or an email that says, can you make us 10,000 rackets, tennis rackets? They make 10,000 tennis rackets. Can you make us some wiffle ball bats? They get an order for that. They take out their blueprints. They make 10,000 wiffle ball bats. The point I'm making is this, is that our cells are really just a factory. They're designed to make what the external environment is telling it to make. The DNA is just simply the blueprint that the body will then use to produce whatever it needs. So if the body needs a certain kind of protein out here, it sends a message in, the DNA prints out that protein, sends it out into the cell sends it out into the environment, and next thing you know, we have that protein floating through our system. So our DNA is really just a blueprint to make other things. It's the outside environment that tells it what it needs to make. As I mentioned before, Dr. Bruce Lipton, molecular biologist, said single gene disorders affect less than 2% of the population. So it's not about our genes. It affects very little percent of the population. All cancers are attributed to environmental rather than genetic factors, according to the World Health Organization. So it comes down to this. It's an environmental thing. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, maybe it's because of toxins in the atmosphere and in the air and so on, but it really comes down to the environment that we create inside of our bodies. Another study came out, and this was reported on Good Morning America not too long ago. They said that up to 90% of all cancers are from environmental factors. Once again, the research is showing this. They said it's not the DNA and not your genes like researchers have thought for years. So you know what? This puts the power in your hands. You guys have the power now to change your bodies, transform your bodies, and rid itself of cancer or never create cancer to begin with by changing the environment. It really comes down to all about the environment. And what we're talking about is the cell environment. So this happens to be a fish tank. So look here, and we see all the beautiful fish, all the colors, and look at that water. That water is pristine. Would anybody out there care to say, question whether that water is going to produce healthy or sick fish? I mean, I would think with how clean that water is and how pristine and the environment that the fish are growing in, that the fish should probably stay healthy and be healthy and well. So I'm just going to take a moment here and see if there's any kind of questions or anything. I don't see any yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at the cell environment and determine whether that cell environment is going to produce healthy cells or not. Now, what about this environment? What if we had a fish tank like that? Is there anybody out there, and you could type in yes or no, that would think that this wouldn't produce sick fish? If you had an environment like this, and that's probably a dead starfish in the corner there, but you had an environment like this, do any of you guys think that this isn't going to produce sick fish? So if you think it's going to produce healthy fish, type into the comment bar healthy. If you think it's going to produce sick fish, type in sick. So we'll take a little bit of a poll at the end. Anyway, so what we're seeing here is this. We're seeing a lot of debris, a lot of bacteria, a lot of fungus or mold or whatever it may be. Maybe it's waste from the fish in this type of environment that is polluting and making that environment toxic for the fish. So the 4 factors that we're going to talk about today, and by the way, this seminar today or this talk is going to be multiple parts, so keep tuned in. In fact, like I said, guys, if you like what we're saying, hit the like button, share it, hit the little love button if you like, but share it out to your friends because there's so many that need to hear and know this information. And also, too, follow us. Click that little button in the corner there, follow us so that way you get notifications of when we're doing the next part in this series. But what we're going to talk about today are the 4 factors that create the environment. See, when you're looking at cancer, and this is what we do with all of our patients, we look at different things. We have to look at the environment their body's in and realize that we have to first, in order to grow healthy cells within your body and non-cancer cells, because cancer cells are really just mutated cells that mutate because of the environment. They realize that they can't survive in a regular environment, so they have to mutate to a different cell and they just become a cancer cell. So if we can change the environment and then from there do the other steps that we're going to be talking about in subsequent seminars, this is the first thing we need to be doing. So the 4 factors. Number 1, avoid toxins. We have to look at how toxic is your environment. And you know what, many of you, here's the problem. Many of you don't realize what you're doing is toxic. You might have certain cleaning products or foods or the plastics in your house that you don't even realize are causing your family to become sick, or maybe perfumes or deodorants that you're putting all over your body or under your arms, especially ladies when you're using different underarm deodorants. Are you causing problems that can get into your lymph nodes and create cancers there? So avoid toxins. Alkalize. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but getting the body more alkaline, changing the environment. Eliminating sugars. Well, that's a hard one for a lot of people because, shout yes or put yes on there if you guys are just crazy for sugar. Now, whether it be sugar as far as white sugar or the brown kind of sugar or just bread, rice, pasta, cereal, grains, those are all sugars. And then, of course, we're going to talk about something that many of you may or may not know about called the ketogenic diet. And that's one of the big kind of diets we put our patients on who have cancer. So moving along, the first thing is avoid toxins. Now, many of you, and this is newest research that's coming out again, is that many people are seeing that things like these artificial butters, which are basically just, fat that's been hydrolyzed and added hydrogen to it to make it a thick, now spreadable type of thing, and it's got flavorings added to it, that these aren't very healthy. Go back to regular butter. Don't use these type of things. Now, people will say, yeah, I know, but they don't have trans fats. Well, here's the problem. They get converted to trans fats very easily. And you don't want these type of things because they're not even real food. So I call them frankenfoods. They're not even real foods to your body. Different oils, vegetable oils, are not good to use. You want to get away from the vegetable oils, the canola oils, your Wesson oils, and things like that. You want to use things like coconut oil. You want to use things like olive oil. They're fantastic oils. Just olive oil you want to use where you don't heat it up too high because it does oxidize at a higher heat. You want to use avocado oil and different kind of nut oils. They're much, much better because they have much higher omega-3 ratios of fats. You want to avoid the bad meats. I've got in my office, I'll show it to you guys on future seminars too. I've got a Happy Meal that's going to be celebrating its 9th birthday this year. And it just looks perfect, like nothing was ever wrong with it. It looks amazing. We just keep it under a little plastic lid so dust doesn't get to it and people don't poke at it. But we've got a Happy Meal that's actually 9 years old, and there's no mold. There's no mold on the bread. The meat's not rotten. It's pretty disgusting. But it tells you what you're putting in your kids' bodies if you're putting this kind of foods in. So avoid bad meats. Now, what I mean by bad meats is this. Meats that are raised commercially to where they're fed grain rather than grass. Because cows don't eat grain normally. They eat grass. That's what they're supposed to be eating. And when a cow is grass-fed from beginning to end, not just part way and then maybe finished with some grass, or the other way, they might be grass-fed and then finished with grain to fatten them up, they're getting the wrong kinds of omega-3 to omega-6 fat ratio. Now, omega-6 fats are highly inflammatory. Omega-3 fats are highly anti-inflammatory. Omega-6 fats are linked to cancers because when you put inflammation into the body, and I'm talking about a systemic inflammation, not an inflammation of just an elbow or a knee when you twist a knee or an ankle. I'm talking about an inflammation overall in your body where it's even into the brain. When you get into different inflammations because omega-6 fats, that is a cancer causer. Omega-3 fats are anti-inflammatory, so you want grass-fed meats instead of this tier. Over here, you want to stay away from processed refined carbohydrates. They are nasty. A lot of them are basically anti-nutrients. They actually deplete your body of nutrients, so you want to avoid the processed refined carbohydrates. Now, I tell patients, they'll say, well, what about things like, a corn, or what about a potato? I said, what? Corn and potatoes, not horrible if that's what you're having. Yes, you have to watch out. About 90% of all corn is GMO. But here's the thing. When you take that corn and you make it into corn cake or corn bread, it's a big difference. When you take that potato and make them into French fries, it's a big difference. If you could keep the food as closest to the way God made it, you're going to be a whole lot better off, right? You guys, if you agree with that, put amen down in that comment bar. But you want to avoid the processed refined carbohydrates. They're absolutely devoid of nutrients, and yet they've got plenty of calories and no nutritional value. So here's a problem. You'll be eating a lot of it, and we're going to get into this on some of our weight loss seminars. You'll eat a lot of it thinking, okay, well, I ate plenty, and I'm full, but because your body perceives no nutritional value to what you ate, it makes you crave more. So next thing you know, you're eating more going, but wait, I'm full. And then what happens is your body starts to hold on to the weight, so you'll never lose weight. It's holding on to it because it's figuring you're trying to starve it. You're not giving it anything with any kind of nutritional value. And then over here, the obvious toxins, your cleaning products. I could have put beauty supplies on here too. Of course, smoking and drugs. A lot of times we look at drugs and we think, well, wait a minute, but a doctor gave this to me, and someone in a white coat who I respect and admire. But drugs are a poison. Drugs in relative dosages are a poison. I remember when I was speaking at a conference with about 400 people, there was a pharmacist that was going out right before me, and we were just talking backstage, and he said what the public doesn't realize is that drugs are a poison to the body. It's just that we know how much to give them. If you give them too much, and we can see this from a lot of the different celebrities who lost their lives due to what we call polypharmacia, you can't give too much because you die from it. You might be okay if you take one aspirin, but what if you ate the whole bottle? You're going to die from it. So depending on the relative dosage, a drug is a poison, and you need to know that. So let's get into the second topic, which is alkalize. Remember, the first one was to remove the toxins, get rid of toxins. Next one is alkalize. When you alkalize the body, you're raising its pH. Normal or average pH is about 7. For the body, for our cell system, for our bloodstream, we want it to be between 7.3 and 7.4. When it's in that range, it's slightly alkaline, and that's what makes our cells happy. So that's where you want to be. So the way you get there is by eating a lot of vegetables. Vegetables are the most alkalizing thing you can do. Now, I know a lot of people talk about drinking alkaline water and so on, but I want to tell you the best thing you do is be eating vegetables. Lots of leafy green vegetables, especially the ones, as we say, that has the highest ANDI score, A-N-D-I, which means Aggregate Nutrient Density Index. An ANDI score means that how nutrient dense is a food per calorie. So how much nutrient is in that food, like kale, for example. Kale is a rock star. Kale is at 1,000. That's the highest you can go. Things like bok choy and collard greens are all at 1,000. That means they are the most nutrient-dense foods. So you combine those, your kale, with your cruciferous vegetables, like your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, your cabbage, things like that. Cauliflower, those are all we call the crucifers or cruciferous vegetables. They are your anti-cancer vegetables. And one of the things we recommend all our patients, start loading up on that and don't overcook it. If you overcook it, you're destroying the nutrients there. So anyway, so let's talk about pH. So we want to get the pH to a higher number. So we see here tap water's at a 7, but when we get into things like just around an 8, that's cabbage, tomatoes, carrots, almonds, apples, celery, lettuce, green tea, olive oil, broccoli, spinach, and so on. When we get into the ones that are more acidic, we're looking at things like grains. The biggest culprit of acidity in our diet today is the grains we're taking in. Beer, sugar, coffee, white bread, even meat. Not so much the grass-fed, but the commercially raised meat is highly acidic. So we want to get our bodies more alkaline. We have to start eating more leafy green vegetables especially, and less things that are acidic forming, like on the list here. And if you want any of this information, let me know. Just email us at totalhealthsolutions1@gmail.com, totalhealthsolutions with an S, the number 1, at gmail.com, and we'll get it to you. Just let us know. We'll get you the ANDI score list. We'll get you any information from the show notes, the pH scale, anything you want. So as we were talking, the biggest culprit of sugar in your body isn't just the white sugar, because I have people all the time telling me, Dr. Nick, you know what, I don't eat a lot of sugar. I'm not into the sweets. You don't have to be. You get your sugar from mainly the grains. That's where you're getting it from. And the problem is the grains typically put it on right around your waist. That's where you get most of your fat storage, which then also leads to, what's the word I'm thinking of? Visceral fat. Visceral fat is all that fat around your organs, not like the fat on your butt or your thighs, your legs. The visceral fat around your organs comes from eating all this. So by the way, we'll get into that in another talk, but that's what's going to lead to heart disease. So we want to avoid that too. But things like your cookies, even your healthy grains here, your wheat breads, your healthy whole grains, your Twinkies, which, this isn't even really food. You could torch a Twinkie with a 2,000-degree torch and not even burn it. It's just almost like Teflon. And pretzels, bagels, and so on. And over here, one of my favorites, I'll tell you, I'm Italian, so it's hard for me to give up my cannolis, so I just eat them once in a while. But I love my cannolis. Oh my gosh, my family knows that. So anyway, you want to eliminate the sugars. So it's not just the white sugar we're talking about, it's all the different sugars. And they all come in different faces and different shapes, sizes, and colors. But the problem is, this is most of our diets. 70% of Americans or more eat about 70% starch during the course of the day. So they'll wake up, they'll have a cup of coffee and a muffin. Mid-course of the day, they're eating a Nutri-Grain bar or something. Then they're having something at lunch like a sandwich. And then in the evening, they're having, rice, pasta, cereal, some other kind of grain. So you're getting grained up all day long. And it's just spiking your blood sugar constantly. So we want to talk about then what raises the blood sugar more. Because once again, like I said, you may be doing things that, you want to do the best for your family. And believe me, I understand that. But you may be doing things that you don't even know about that are creating problems. So I'm going to play a little game here We're going to play a game called Which Raises Your Blood Sugar More? Okay, is it going to be things like a Snicker bar, a Mars bar, a Coke, whole grain Wheaties, or whatever that's called? I forget. Not Frosted Wheats. Anyway, actual sugar itself, healthy whole grain bread. What's going to raise the sugar more? So what I want you guys to do is type into your comments section there what you think it's going to be the best one. Which is the one that's going to raise blood sugar more, and then maybe even raise it longer, and we'll see who wins this one. So let's go to it. Ready? Glycemic index, that's measure of your blood sugar. Snickers bar is 41. Table sugar is actually 59. A Coke is 63. Shredded wheat, 67. I knew I'd think of the name of that one. Mars bar, 68. White bread, 69. And topping it out, healthy whole wheat is 72. I know you're thinking, how is that? You're going to tell me that my kids would actually be better off drinking a Coke before they go to school to not raise their blood sugar, better than a piece of healthy whole grain that my doctor's been telling me to eat? I'm not telling you to drink Coke because it's got a lot of other issues with it. But yeah, the problem is this. What raises blood sugar more, or your glycemic index, are your grains. You're always going to have it because your grains are 100% glucose. Things like the sugars over here, a sucrose molecule is made of half glucose and half fructose. When you put that together, you get a sugar molecule. What then happens is the fructose has to go through your liver to be converted. The glucose goes directly into your blood. So anything that comes into your body in the form of glucose directly will spike your blood sugar higher. That's why things like sugar products don't spike it as high as healthy whole grains. So I'm going to tell you, don't even call it healthy whole grains anymore because they're not healthy for you. They're actually terrible. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, how am I going to get my fiber? There's plenty of fiber in all those vegetables I was telling you about. So to recap, number one, remove the toxins. Number two, alkalize. And alkalize by eating the healthy whole, the greens. And also two, then number three is remove the sugars. Because here's the problem. That's what cancer likes. You want to create an environment for cancer, eat a lot of sugar, because research shows that cancer cells are known to have anywhere from 10 to 70 times more receptor sites for sugar than any other type of cell. I'll repeat that. They have 10 to 70 times more receptor sites for sugar than any other type of cell we have in our body. It also uses anaerobic metabolism of sugar for fuel. So what that means is cancer cells love a non-oxygenated environment, which means anaerobic. They also love the fermentation process. That's their primary fuel. So they love sugar. So anytime you increase sugar in your body, you are feeding cancer. So one of the things that we always recommend to our patients when they come in and they want to get either cured of cancer or never avoid it or never get it is get off the sugars, reduce the sugars, because you are feeding cancer with sugars. And when we look at how many kids today are just drinking so much soda, you're just putting liquid sugar right into their body with that. The ketogenic diet starves cancer cells, and that's what we're going to go to now. The ketogenic diet is a diet where we eat more fats and more protein and very little carbs. It's about 70%. Depending on each individual's diet, it's about 65 to 70% fat, about 15, maybe 25% protein. Not a lot, because protein can get converted to sugar. I'll repeat that. Protein can get converted to sugar, so you don't want a lot of protein, and very little carbs, less than 25 grams or so, 25 to 50. You want to monitor this with something called a keto stick. Little things you can order online. You can go to different stores and find keto sticks. You can test it different ways. You can measure it by, with your urine test, breath, or blood. Blood, of course, is the most accurate, but it's the hardest to do. So, as I said, the ketogenic diet is a diet where it's mainly fat, a little bit of protein, and a very little bit of carbs. Okay? I want to go back to a slide for a second there, to this one. So, before I go into the next one, I want to show you this one again. So, I know people are looking at it going, what about bacon? Well, bacon's not the healthiest thing for you. I mean, there's a lot of things that are worse. but at least it doesn't raise blood sugar levels. So you want to look at healthy oils. So what I always recommend with this type of diet is at least eat the healthiest of it all. Eat olive oil and real butter, okay? You want to have avocados, coconut oil. I know people say that coconut oil is a saturated fat. I can't eat saturated fats. Saturated fats do not cause heart disease. That was a myth that was dispelled a few years back, that was started actually back in the Eisenhower administration when one of his advisors and physician named Ansel Keys said that the reason Eisenhower had a heart attack was because of the high fat in his diet. So he came up with the fat lipid hypothesis. The problem was that he really cherry-picked his data. He really looked at only certain things and basically set the groundwork for everybody to start becoming afraid of eating fats. And that started back in the 50s, and everything became low fat, low fat, low fat. And when you take fat out, you had to start adding more carbs and more sugars. And so it was no fat and healthy whole grains, and next thing you know, diabetes went through the roof, heart disease went up, cancer went up. So this idea of low fat is not good. And I'll tell you why too, because our cells are made of fat. We need fat to make healthy cells. We have 2 layers of fat around each cell, and that is what helps get nutrients in and wastes out. And so one of the best things we could do is eat healthy quality fats. And that's, as I said, butter, real butter, maybe grass-fed butter is even better. Olives, avocados, coconut oil. So real healthy fats. Salmon has great high omega-3 fats in it. Other fishes, cold water fishes. Grass-fed meats, we talked about that. You could even have some shellfish, although they tend to be bottom feeders, so sometimes they can be toxic. But grass-fed meats and free-range chickens, all of this is really great for you. Of course, lots of vegetables, eggs. I'll tell you what, I am a huge egg fan. I've been eating eggs for years, and a lot of them. I eat anywhere from 4 to a dozen eggs a day, and I know you're probably freaking out on there going, oh my gosh, he's going to have high cholesterol. Not the case. In fact, I had an electron beam tomography study done where they looked inside my heart, and on a scale of 1 to 1,000, I was at 11. So it's not happening. We're good. Milk. Grass-fed milk, raw, even better. Cheeses, as long as they're raw, they're great for you. Nuts and seeds, and a little bit of fruit. And as you notice, the fruit up here, those are berries. Berries are very low in glycemic index, so you don't want to be eating such sweet things as other types of fruit. But berries are actually really good for you. All right, and like I said before, here's the ratio. About 65 to 70% fat. Protein is about 15 to 25%, and carbs about 5%. So you want to fill your plate in that kind of order, and that will help you get into a state of what we call ketosis. Now, let me talk about what that means. Now, we're not going to get majorly into this because we're going to talk about ketosis as a diet plan and weight loss plan in future seminars. But just a little bit about it now is that your body, primarily, you've been running off of sugar all these years. You've trained your body to burn carbohydrates and not fats. Well, your body's equally good at burning fats. The problem is you have to flip it to where it becomes a fat burner. And how you do that is you start actually eating fat. You reduce the carbs, and your body starts to burn fat. Now, a lot of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, here's the problem. You need fat, you need carbs to make your brain work because your brain runs on glucose. Well, your brain also can run on something called ketones. And ketones can make your brain work. In fact, it's a longer burn of energy. Whereas glucose is a spike, ketones last longer, and it's a nice, slow, even burn. It's great for energy. And so a lot of top athletes are going more towards eating fats before events rather than spiking up on pasta, and things like that. So what we're talking about now is eating healthy quality fats. Because what happens is when you take these fats in, they're put into the liver converts fat to ketones, and then ketones are usable by your brain. So you can be fine eating a high-fat diet with lots of, healthy quality fats, and your brain will work fine on it. In fact, your performance levels will go up. First few days is going to be a little tough because you might be, feeling groggy, feeling tired, maybe a little irritable, but as soon as your body figures it out, it's usually a couple of weeks into it, it starts to burn then ketones, starts to burn that. That's when your body will become a better fat burner. Anyway, so here's what we want to look at, optimal levels. So when you get the little keto sticks, and like I said, you can get them from health food stores or online. Probably easiest to go on Amazon, buy ketone sticks. It's the simplest way to do it. They're accurate, but the only problem is if you're drinking excess amounts of fluids, it might change the numbers a little bit. But you want to be in a range from about 1 to about 3 millimolars per liter. So 1 to 3 on the scale. Now, optimal is about 2.5. So not to get into too much detail here, but that's where you want to be when you're checking your ketone levels. So that'll tell you if your body's in ketosis or not. You don't want to go too far, otherwise you're in ketoacidosis, and you don't want to go into starvation mode either. So you don't want to go above 3. 3 is the safe zone, and as low as 1. That's where you want to be. All right, guys? So once again, if you have any questions, anything you want to do, anything you want to know, you want any of the information we put on the seminar tonight, or today, this morning, something like that. What time of the day is it? It's about 10:45. Just give us an email. Shoot it to us, totalhealthsolutions1@gmail.com. That is the number 1@gmail.com. And if you like what we talked about today, let us know. Let us know what we can do better. Let us know what health struggles you have, so that way we can make sure we put shows together in the future based on what you want. I want this to be a team effort. I want to be able to have you guys co-create the show, and that way you can help us put out the best information for you, your friends, your family, so that way you can live as long and as healthy as God created for you to live. And that's really what it's about. So once again, guys, like us. Do a little heart if you like. Share, and that way other people can get this information. And once again, give us feedback. I've got a pretty good skin. It's pretty thick. I grew up in New York, so you won't hurt my feelings. Just let me know what you think, and we've been more than happy to give you that information on future episodes. Also, too, at the bottom there, I think the bottom maybe right corner, there's a little button that says follow. Click on that, and that way I think you get notifications as to when we're going to be on the air. And that way you don't have to search for us so much. You can get us live. So anyway, guys, thanks for being here. I love and appreciate you, giving you the voice of truth when it comes to healthcare. This is Dr. Sedano signing off. See you next time. Bye-bye, guys.